Hey, I'm just going to quickly talk about fear management and adrenaline dump and fight or flight, all those things. To me, they're kind of all related. And so I have basically three things to say about that: visualization slash meditation, breathing, training, repetition, if you will. And that's basically it. Those are the three answers to me for fight or flight issues, and what it comes down to, is all the physiological things that can happen to your being while you're getting an adrenaline dump. So the your vision, your eyes will dilate. You can get tunnel vision. You can lose visual acuity, such as like proportions and distance and timing and all that stuff tend to go away. And you're going to have issues of dexterity, and your heart's going to race, and your blood pressure is going to rise, and your veins are going to constrict, and you could even crap yourself. It really depends on the level of fear and how your body responds, and really what's going on with your body prior to the event. Memory loss is a big thing that can happen. You can also have the opposite happen, where you slow down time mentally. Basically, your brain is actually taking more frames of reference quicker. But it's a huge cocktail of chemicals that's being dumped into your body. And so, there's no magic bullet for it, but there are some things that we can do. And breathing, diaphragmatic, deep breathing, slowing your breathing down, not letting yourself start to have shallow breaths. As you start to get stressed, it is generally true that people will start to breathe in their chest, and they will raise their shoulders, and there's all kinds of physiological changes that take place under stress. These same changes occur when you're under fight or flight kinds of stress, life or death kind of stress. So training yourself on a day-to-day basis with general breathing in your diaphragm, learning how to meditate and visualize success against your scariest foe, the biggest, deepest, darkest, baddest dudes or dudettes, whatever it is, your situational thing that freaks you the hell out. That's what you need to overcome, and you need to continue to do that until the rest of the things, are just variations of a theme for most of us. So, I think visualizing is a huge component, and you can visualize on a new thing every week if you want to. There's no rules that say you can't visualize on anything and everything. And so, in the same way that I visualize my silat being applied, is the same way that you can visualize applying your methodologies against an attack, right? So it's literally the same process. It's just that there's an antagonist versus a protagonist viewpoint. So those are things you can do. Deep diaphragmatic breathing. Did I mention that? Because you really need to learn how to do that. Let me tell you something. When you exercise intensely and you're huffing and puffing for air, what are some things that have happened? Well, your heart rate's gone up, your blood pressure has gone up, your breathing usually is shortened. You might be huffing and puffing up in your chest. A lot of people do that. Most of us don't do diaphragmatic breathing when we're short of breath. Basically, some of the same physiological things that take place when you are under an adrenaline dump take place when you have intense exercise. So now, if you think about intense exercise and you're tired from whatever exercise you're doing, and then you try to perform complex tasks, it doesn't matter whatever it is, it doesn't matter. If you try to perform a complex task when your body is physically exhausted and trembling from being exhausted, you're experiencing some of the same kinds of things that you will from an adrenaline dump. So, guess what you can do? You can gas yourself by working your butt off and then try to perform some of your material. When you're doing that, when you're gassed, you are increasing your chances of being able to perform it under stress. So that's a one thing you can do. So the other thing is repetition, 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 with progressive amounts of pressure. I'm not talking pressure testing, because to me testing happens in real life. It doesn't happen any other way, and that's what I mentioned in the previous blog. But what I'm talking about here is progressively putting your stuff under pressure, and that can be gassing yourself, making yourself tired out. So there's a ton of ways to kind of ramp it up to deal with fear management. Visualization, meditation, huge. Breathing, repetition, and training. You want to get your central nervous system, your muscle memory, as it is sometimes referred to, wired against whatever it is you think you're going to encounter. This is the difficulty of training, because you only have so much time, and so you need to be a little bit of a generalist as well as a specialist, right? If you hang around in particular places where you're likely to be mugged, well, you probably should prepare for a mugging. Seems obvious, right? But how often does our training actually address what's likely? So check that stuff out in your own training. Make sure that you're actually putting this stuff into practice. I'll tell you what, when you experience adrenaline for the first time, if you never have, for me it's always post incident. I start shaking and I have all kinds of stuff goes on. It doesn't always happen while it's going on. While it's going on, I'm just responding and doing, and then afterwards I shake and freak out and whatever. Now I know people who basically black out, and then 2 days later they're still remembering what's happened. So there's different ways the body responds. You have to know you. I can't know you. What I will tell you is, specifically seeking out adrenaline dumps is not good for your short-term memory. It's not good for your heart. Literally, it changes you chemically, so physically. So don't be a junkie, but do take care of yourself. Work on your breathing. Stay calm. Stay cool. Work on calculated risks, and if you want to, you can throw in things like environmental awareness, situational awareness, all of those things that I talked about in the prepared versus unprepared blog. Those are hugely important in reducing fear. Fear management. Fear comes from basically the unknown, and for either forecasting out on the unknown or having it done to you, right? So when you're talking about fear management, you're talking about, how do I control the unknown, the things that freak me out that I don't understand. So one of the best things you can do is figure out how to become more situationally aware, more environmentally aware, and then through that preparation process, you'll start to recognize imminent threat a lot quicker, and that's going to help you to remain calmer. So and then you can practice things like avoidance and things like that. So anyway, that's my take on it. Fear management, huge thing. Practice. That's going to build your central nervous system and your muscle memory. But don't forget to be practicing your breathing. Your breathing's huge. When you're sitting in your everyday office doing your thing and you're starting to get stressed out, do you stop and do you breathe, or do you just try to power through it, raise your shoulders, get tense, and freak out? If you're doing that, you just might be chasing a rainbow.